It feels like those squishy toys you used to get when you were a little kid. r/Ask Me Anything by online comps. I have a neurological condition that allows me to quite literally see and touch music when I listen to it, and or send me some tunes. It's called synesthesia, and I find it kind of funny that it's classified as a neurological condition because I literally can't imagine processing the world without it. I have come to learn that it is probably the reason why my brain does some odd things. In addition to certain music and sounds causing things to physically manifest on my skin and put shapes and colors in front of my eyes. All numbers from -3 to 108 have distinctive colors, dimensions, personalities, and some of them I can feel. 19, for example, can only be described as the feeling of a quarter rolled dindo being pushed into my shoulder. This is true to a lesser extent for letters, though some letters have stronger personalities than my numbers. I can taste some colors and physically touch others, in addition to certain mixes of colors and shapes. What is your favorite kind of music, and what do you see and touch when you listen to it? The song that I experience most intensely, without a doubt, is this one. I remember hearing it on my Walkman for the first time when I was 7. I was at an airport and just being completely absorbed. I felt it so strongly that I just freaked out and didn't know what to do. That first riff, the horns, emotionally excite me, and my armpits, shoulders, and the tip of my nose feel electrified. My brain screen is bright white with a tiny little yellow. Then at 10 seconds it erupts into these dark blues and greens, kind of like the colors on that peacock feather. They stretch out immensely and cover everything and overlap, and some bright yellow filters through. My whole screen moves, and I get this feeling like somebody is this is really hard to articulate, like pushing me through cold water, but one section of my body at a time. Then certain parts turn to golden ribbons that spin through the muscles in my forearms and knees, and I have to move. This is one of the songs that it literally hurts to sit still to. I'm not dancing. It's like I feel these things on my body pushing me, and I have to bend to them in these weird mechanical ways or it's unpleasant. Like an itch or a Tourette tic. It's only at these certain parts in the song, though. Okay, wow, haha, this is tough to go through. It would take up too much space to describe it. It's better if I listen to other people's songs, because I usually don't feel them as intensely and can describe them more accurately. What is 7 like to you? My favorite number. 7 is a very nice number. It is. How do I say this? It is friends with 4, which is my favorite number and has a similar disposition. When I view 7 from its own position, it and 4 glow very brightly, and it has one of the nicer shades of blue attached to it, sky blue. After 4, 7 is certainly the nicest of the numbers from 0 to 11, which is the group it is in. This is an amazing condition that you have, in my opinion. I'd like to ask you how you perceive blue. Is it more than a color, a being, a personality, or a thing itself? How would you define blue to someone? Blue is actually my big color. It is the only one I consider to be its own entity. I think about it a lot, and I can't believe I actually have the opportunity to share such thoughts. If I began rambling to a friend about how emotional blue is, they would probably figure it a little strange, regardless of whether they said otherwise. Blue is inherently good, though it is capable of all sorts of emotions. It is the only color that I can really taste on its own. If I see a clear, unbroken expanse of smooth blue, a wall, the lower half of a blue car, a new tube of blue Play-Doh, the tastes are often strong enough that it will distract me. But it has to be pure blue, no other colors, and it has to be smooth. All my numbers are shades of blue, except for the white numbers, the ones that come after about 108. Most of the music I listen to now that elicits a sight is blue or yellow. It is almost spiritual to me. How that's interesting. I wonder why the negative numbers and positive numbers are so different in your mind. Is it because you actually visualize the negative sign? Or do you envision them as being on the opposite side of some great divide? I'm in university and I can't think about negative numbers without also realizing that they might as well be positive, depending on your frame of reference. Many of my problems require me to define some arbitrary direction as negative and the other as positive. How would that duality make you feel? This is actually a shocking development in my own little world. Now that I think about it, when I think about my number line I don't actually visualize the numbers. I never realize that. I don't see the numbers on my screen. I just know who they are by their location, emotion, color, and distance from me. I can't believe I never realized that. They are totally amorphous. I think I just pair them up with the corresponding character I learned in school. This is so weird. Why exactly is metal uncomfortable? The instrumentation is really tight and complicated, which is usually a trigger for the synesthesia. But the resounding emotion is one of stress, and it makes me just physically uncomfortable. Like if someone makes that squeaky noise with plastic wrap, you know how it physically hurts your head? It gets more intense as it gets louder. Because the more focus I give to it, the stronger the sensation. If it's playing in the background I can usually ignore it. But if I'm in the car with someone, and they are listening to it on a CD, I just start to feel nervous. And my skin gets all weird, because it goes too fast, and doesn't feel right. What does dubstep do to you? Cause it's not exactly traditional music. Some dubstep songs give me faint little tinglings. But I have yet to experience one very powerfully. I will admit that I can physically feel the drop of a lot of the songs. It feels like, haha, I was going to say this sounds weird. But I realize most of the stuff I've said on here sounds weird. T feels like those squishy toys you used to get when you were a little kid. You know, the ones with that weird the ones with that weird gel in the middle that you could squeeze and stretch, and it usually had glitter or something in it and it just felt fun to touch. Then your asshole friend would always burst it and your mom would freak out and accuse you of eating the gel. Anyway, it feels like that, a little firmer and flattened down. And it slices back and forth from around my temple through the middle of my earlobe. It's not very strong, though. Why 108? So 109 does absolutely nothing for you? 109 marks the transition into my white numbers. They are like ghost numbers, shades of white, grey, and silver. They are all quiet, kind of ethereal, and cover great expanses. They have dimension, and move like the others. But 109 really is the first marker for the ones that build up to infinity. Infinity has a dimension all to itself. And it is a very weird sensation to me. But I still group the white numbers and infinity together in terms of personalities and feelings. Seems like this neurological disorder has a lot of pros. Any cons that you've had? Yes, I wouldn't consider it a disorder. Though I'm lucky in large respects. Because some experience it so intensely it interferes with their lives. When I listen to my big songs, the ones that fill me with the most intense emotion and joy, I feel very strongly compelled to move to them. It's not a painful pressure like a sneeze or a tick, which are really difficult to control and not always enjoyable. It's more like a smile. It feels physically satisfying to jolt my body and kid with the specific sounds and riffs in a song that send these little shocks through my muscles. But while doing my little moves makes me happy, they often weird people out, and it can get kind of irritating if one of my big songs is playing and I can't move to it. Same goes with outside. If it is sunny, warm, and I'm in a certain part of nature surrounded by certain colors, my skin gets pushed on by the same force I hear in my music. The conditions have to be really good. But I start to feel something lifting me up under my armpits and I get like, I dunno, kind of titillated. Sometimes the colors and shapes of my surroundings even taste good. Anyways, when I'm in this certain environment I do this one thing, where I stick my hands over my head and move my arms and wrists in these specific circles at these specific angles and speeds. It's kind of like me blissing out. But I definitely look like I'm on drugs when seen by someone passing by. A lot of times this makes being out hiking with others or walking through a public park on a really beautiful day tough. I have to walk with my arms pressed firmly to my side and my fists clench. Hey, I have synesthesia too. It sounds like you have projection synesthesia, which is pretty rare. The way you experience the world must be fascinating. As for me, colors have tastes, and smells have colors. I also feel music, though to a much lesser extent. How do you feel about discordant harmonies? They tend to make me cry. I'm thrilled to hear about you. I have actually never spoken to someone else who had this, or had it, and could recognize what it was. I can only taste blue under certain conditions, and certain mixes of colors and textures sometimes taste sweet. But that is a type of synesthesia I find most fascinating. Can you tell me an example of which colors taste like what smells provoke which colors? I hate discordance. High-pitched screeching is the worst. Though I don't think you have to have synesthesia to get how ducking grating that is. Please let this poor cat get his subscribe, comment, and like. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon for future videos. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to drink water.